I interviewed OJ Simpson. We're just sitting next to each other, like 4 feet apart. And he goes, "You think I did it?" And I go, "Did what?" I wanted him to say it. So I said, "Did what?" And he said, "Killed those 2 people." And I said, "Yes."
Calm Down with Erin and Charissa is a production of iHeartRadio. Welcome to part 2
on the
of
big
our conversation
show
with Dan Patrick on the big show. Hello. Because one episode with Dan Patrick is not enough. This guy's career is so good. We had to ask him more questions. And this one, are you ready for an incredible story about OJ Simpson? Mm-hmm. I go to the Dan Patrick School of Interviewing.
How good was
just
that?
5 minutes with this guy.
Wasn't that great?
And maybe I'll actually get invited to the Sports Emmys this year. And how much longer he's going to keep doing this. Stay with us. Dan Patrick, part 2, up next.
Hello.
On the big show. So Dan, you are so skilled at so many things that you do. Erin and I both interview people as well for a living. I want to know the art of the interview through the lens of Dan Patrick, because I'm constantly trying to figure out and learn and take advice, yield advice from people that I respect, that what makes a good interviewer? Like, what is some of the best advice you've gotten, and what have you found to be the best skills that you have used to elicit a great answer from a subject?
Be curious. Like, always be curious. Mm-hmm. It's not about you. There's nothing wrong with a question that makes it seem like you don't know the answer. If you say why, but we get caught up in, oh my God, they're going to think I don't know. So you're going to ask a question, answer the question, then ask the question. It's terrible.
Yes.
Just get to the question. Just ask the question. And because the less time I have you to be able to load up with an answer or maybe bullshit me, I'm doing a disservice to my audience. And I always think when I'm interviewing, my job is to be a conduit to the people who are listening or watching. It's my job to get them something that keeps them in their car. Or they go, "Oh, did you hear that interview?" And if you're selfless, then you'll ask open-ended questions and be curious and always be ready with the follow-up. It's amazing. Athletes try not to tell us things, or coaches try not to tell us things. Your job is, they're going to tell you something. You just have to listen for it. And then when you follow up, that's when you get gold. I remember when Scottie Pippen was being interviewed by all these people, and he had something to say about Michael Jordan and LeBron, and everybody was, "Oh my God, did you hear what Scottie had to say?" Well, in the same conversation, he talked about race played a role in Phil wanting Scottie to not take the last shot. Tony Kukoc was going to take the last shot in the game, and Scottie sat down. And I said, "Oh my God, that's the quote." Nobody's asking him. He basically called Phil Jackson a racist. And I said to Fritzy, my booker, I said, "See if you can get Scottie on." And he was promoting his whiskey or bourbon or something, tequila maybe. And I asked him, I said, "What are you saying about Phil?" And he said, no, he basically was saying he's a racist. And I just thought, nobody's listening. Like, they're listening for what gets clicks, and gets clicks is when you talk about Michael Jordan and LeBron James, not Phil Jackson. And I just remember, it was like, it hit me that, are we really listening? Or are we only listening for what works in today's social media climate? And I don't do social media. I'm not on social media. I'm not interested in social media. I'm aware of it. If I make a mistake, somebody points that out. But other than that, I don't need it as a reassurance. But I think, how we ask questions, who's asking questions. And I think journalism is sort of in small letters now. I don't think it's capital letters. And that's where I think we get into trouble sometimes. Hot takes, that's really important. But when you sit down and you ask questions, ask the question and don't be afraid, because this isn't about that guy being your buddy or, that woman being your buddy. Your job is still to get that answer to your audience. And if you always believe in that and stay true to that, you can't go wrong. But make it about the subject, not about you and your questions.
I love that.
Now I'm rethinking everything I want to ask my comparison this week. I'm like, shit, what's happening?
Well, I not to tell you how to do your job, but I would like to know, like, what makes you want to be part of the media? Like what part of the media do you enjoy? Because he is good. He's good on his podcast, and he's got things to say, and he's young, and I'm just curious, that new wave of athlete. So, we got the NIL guys, and then we got, these guys who have a podcast, and what do you say, and can you say it, and are you saying it on here, but you won't say it to the media when you do a press conference? Like, those are things that I find really fascinating, because today's athlete is far ahead of the game in a lot of ways, but really naive in a lot of ways too.
You've done everything. Covered World Series, NBA Finals, Olympics, your time at ESPN, your time at NBC, and your own show. Is there something you would go back and do differently, or are you appreciative of the path that you've been on?
See, I would have critiqued you right there.
Tell me.
What would you have done differently?
What would you have done differently?
Yeah, you don't even add the end of it. What would you have done differently?
I love you.
Now, I do this to my wife, and I do this to my kids.
No,
so once
it's
again,
so good, and it messes with the way you think. Dan, did you deal with John Swatsky at ESPN?
Yes.
He, in a great way, fucked my head up. Like, what, where, when, why, how. Do not ask two-part questions. Like, it screws my brain up, but it's great.
See, I never had him, which is why Dan's my new interview guru.
John Swatsky changed my career.
Wow.
John was in a magazine. There was an article, and it was like the king of interviewing or king of the question. And I read it. And I said to John Walsh, who was running SportsCenter, I said, we have to get him here.
Yeah.
And so he got him here 5 days, 8 hours. And people were like,
fight him.
MF and me. Like, they were like, oh my God, why did you? And I said, oh my God, this is unbelievable. It was amazing. A treasure trove of things that could help you, tips, laying down breadcrumbs, like take them here. Where are you going? What's your end game? What's your first question? Now, we went toe to toe a lot of times, because I said, you've never interviewed Mike Tyson. You've never interviewed Dennis Rodman. Your laws, your rules, your tips won't apply. And he goes, I beg to differ. And I go, I know, because I've done that. I have interviewed them. And there is no way to really go into that with his formula. But the other stuff was wonderful. Open-ended question. I'll sit around the table with my kids, my wife, and I used to go, how was your day? Good. And I go, okay. Tell me, what was the best part of your day? And so then they would give you an answer. And then after a while, they caught on and they go, you interviewing Dad? Or you really? Are you?
I love it, though. I love it.
You have to get into,
it goes back to your,
do it to your boyfriend. Do it to your husband. Just ask a question. They won't realize it. But when you say, hey, how you doing? Good. Hey, what was fun today? Or what was interesting today? Then you get conversation. And I always tell people, when you get married, you fall in love. But you stay married because you like that person. So find out if you like being around them by talking to them.
Kristen, don't do this.
Oh, you mean that
don't
you have
do
to
this.
do that?
Don't do it.
I don't want to screw up. You've gotten this far without me. I've helped you with other relationships.
Yeah, exactly. I'll get out of them. So wait. Let me ask the question in the Dan Patrick School of Interviewing. This is my test. So, Dan, you have covered World Series, NBA Finals,
don't even have to do
Olympics.
that.
You don't have to do that. You're adding information that they know about.
Okay, I thought I had to start. No, I don't have to do.
What's your question?
Now I don't know. My question is, what would you do differently?
That's it.
What would you do differently in your career? And the answer.
What would you do differently in your career?
I learned the right way. I mean, I got humiliated. I got kicked to the curb. I came back. I started something on my own. I'm proud of, you're proud of, it's like, when a supermodel gets wrinkles, like that's life. You've been smiling. It's okay. And I didn't call myself a supermodel, by the way. I'm just saying that you're not, it's not perfect. And I tried to be perfect when I started this. Every SportsCenter I did, every single one, I'd get done, I'd grab the tape, I'd go upstairs and I would watch the entire Sports Center because I was looking for things that I did wrong. And I thought, what am I like? So even I'd make a mistake on camera and I'd be thinking about it through the whole show. And I don't know if you guys have gone through that where you make a mistake pregame or something and you're going, God damn it. It's just there.
Yeah, of course.
But this one, I was looking for everything that was wrong. How'd the tie look? How'd my hair look? How did I sound? And I was driving myself crazy because I couldn't just go out there and go, I made a mistake. I can deal with it. And it took a long time to do that. And, Keith Olbermann helped immensely because he's like, DP, fuck it, move on. And then he's right. But in the moment, you're like, God, I want to be perfect. That's something. That's probably why I got to where I am. But it also can really, take its toll on you because you want to be great all the time. The motto is every day is the Super Bowl. And if you don't have that approach, then, you're going to fall on your face sometimes because you weren't prepared. And it goes back to that first day in radio when I didn't know how to pronounce the Ayatollah's name. And I never forgot that feeling of being humiliated. And so it's always there, 40 years later.
I'm emotional. Because I'm like sitting here crying because a lot of this is relatable, but also I was telling Charissa one question I wanted to ask you was I feel like in this whole thing has been like just like a relay race, right? Like you just go as fast as you can because you want to keep up and you want to keep reinventing yourself. You want to stay relevant, but that you don't take the time to enjoy it. And there's things I look back at College Game Day. I wish I enjoyed more. I wish I'd taken pictures, but this is so special that we have you in our lives. We have you, somebody we looked up to. We wanted to be like, we wanted to work with, and we have you as a friend. And just to hear you tell these stories that, are so passionate and things that we are so interested in. I don't know. It's
I
emotional.
never celebrated.
I love it.
I never celebrated.
I know.
I never stopped. And my wife goes, celebrate the victories. I go, hun, I need big victories.
So hard.
Like, hey, you're going to win an award. And she would say, no. Like, did you have a good show? I say, well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. And she goes, but you got to celebrate it. And and she was so right, as she always is. And I just missed out on that. So I would say to you guys, man, the small things and, having a baby, just those small things, those are things you should be doing in your career, noticing the small things. It's like when your baby does something small and you go, God, did you see that? That was awesome. Well, what'd she do? She ate an avocado. Oh my God. Like, have fun and remember it because you chase constantly. Yep. I did. I kept thinking, well, next job or next paycheck or next raise or next. And I never, ever stopped. It's okay to open the scrapbook and just go, God, that was fun. And the people and the memories.
Okay, so
love it.
So let's do this as I apply my. Do you have a few more minutes for us?
I have life for you.
I love you. Thank
God,
you.
what are you doing to me right now?
I know. She's a mother. She's emotional.
I guess I'm a mother too. I'm a mother too.
The best part is, Dan, you're one of the funniest people we know, and Erin and I don't cry ever. And here we are. Okay, so rapid fire, since I'm going to use my Dan Patrick school of question asking. Favorite interview?
I don't have one.
Wow.
Least favorite interview?
Tanya Harding was painful.
Why?
There you go, right there. Boom. That's what you do. Why? Well, I brought up Nancy Kerrigan. I'd never interviewed her, and she had found religion, and I wanted to know how her religion accepted what she did and how she was a part of Nancy Kerrigan and her husband and all those things. And
so good.
What
a follow-up.
She goes, Are we going to really talk about this? And I go, yes. And then she goes, and then all of a sudden I hear, hold on, Paul wants to talk to you. Well, I don't know who Paul is. Paul goes, Dan, we going down this road? And I go, who are you? And I'm
Jeff Galooly's
I'm her
brother?
agent and our PR person. And I go, look, I've never had. So they cut short the interview, but I just wanted to ask her about it. I interviewed OJ Simpson. This was after the double murder. And
What was your first question?
I don't remember my first question because
Really?
we were talking football. Okay. I made a terrible mistake. Iowa, I think, was playing USC in the Orange Bowl. And I thought, you know what? OJ, he was found not guilty. He was still a wonderful football player. Maybe we talked to OJ Simpson. Well, he agrees. And we just talked football and USC and all those things. And we were changing tapes. So I did 30 minutes and then we stopped. And so, that feels like forever when somebody's reloading their camera. And it's just him, and we're just sitting next to each other, like 4 feet apart. And he goes, "You think I did it?" And I go, "Did what?" And he said,
And you knew what he meant.
Yes, but I wanted him to say it. So I said, "Did what?" And he
Smart.
said, "Killed those 2 people." And I said, "Yes." And then my
Time's up.
cameraman goes, "Okay,
And
we're
live.
we're ready to roll."
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So what happened?
No.
Then he kept trying to tell me how he was not guilty. And he goes, "You don't know how crazy my life is. Do you know that I was in Vegas and I walked by a room and they were shooting a porn and they wanted me, OJ, to be in the porn." And it was going in a direction where it wasn't going to make air. And I just let him talk. But he was trying to convince me because I just told him to his face, yes, I thought that he killed, his wife and
Wow.
Ron Goldman. Yeah. So that one was an interesting conversation. Lawrence Taylor, I thought, was going to beat me up.
Really?
Yeah, I'd ask him. He had been suspended for cocaine use, and he read a statement to the print media. And I was at training camp, and then he came out. They wouldn't let camera people in. And he came out, and he was walking to his car. And I said, Lawrence, and I was working at CNN at the time. And I said, "Would you read the statement on camera?" And then he said, "You need to get the real story." And I said, "I have the full story. I talked to your agent." And then he walked away. And then I thought, oh, God, all right, here I go. And I went up to him again. I said, "Look, I need you to read that on camera. That I wasn't able to be in there. They wouldn't allow cameras." And then he had the darkest sunglasses on ever. I could see the whites of his eyes through his sunglasses. And he's staring at me. And I go, oh, my gosh.
Oh, shit.
I felt like I was Ken O'Brien of the Jets, and he was coming after me, sack me. And
He's
then
my neighbor. I'm not kidding. He's right down the street.
Ken O'Brien is?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Of course he is.
He's a good guy. I felt
He's
bad.
great.
He's one of the first guys I ever felt bad for. I saw fear in his eyes when Lawrence Taylor was chasing him during a game, and I go, that is fear right there. That is fear. But he got into he had a dark blue Porsche, and he peeled out. And Peter King was working, I think, for Newsday. He runs out. He goes, "What did he say?" And I told him the story, and I think Peter quoted me in Newsday that Lawrence Taylor basically told me to get fucked as he got in his car. I mean, these are the moments that people don't really care. Like when you're getting in the business, you
What
don't
do you mean?
think.
They're amazing.
Well, no, that you don't want to have these moments. Like you don't have these moments. Come on, and then you do where, sometimes you're asking a tough question and, I just try to be professional the best I can. Never try to be sensationalistic and I don't do gotcha. I don't do any of that stuff. But there are times when you go, God, this is going to hurt when I ask this question. But you got to do it.
So was there an interview that you wanted, didn't think that you would get, and you got it?
Let's see. Now I could say yes or no to that.
Right.
Who was a person that you wanted to interview and you didn't think you could get it, but you got it?
I think Michael Jordan during the NBA Finals when he wasn't talking to the media, and then I got a chance to talk. I had a great relationship with him. I don't really know him, but he was very generous with me, and he knew that I could push him a little bit, and he was playful. I thought he was different when he was on SportsCenter after they would win those championships. And another interview I got that's really not headline worthy, but John Stockton never did interviews. Never. NBA Finals, NBC would be Jim Gray would be trying to get John Stockton to sit down. And I just remember saying to the PR, I was just trying to be funny, and I said, "Hey, love to have John to sit down for an interview." And he goes, "I'll ask." And I go, "Okay," just for shits and giggles. Comes back and he goes, "John will do it. Where do you want to do it?" And I go, "What?" So we sat down, did the interview, and I just remember NBC's like, "Wait, wait a minute. Why didn't you do an interview with us?" And I go, "I have no idea. I just ask." And I always say that, don't be afraid to ask.
Cool.
If you can take no, which I happened through most of my high school and college career with women, like if you can take a no and keep coming back, then that's you got to have that thick skin. You have to have calluses. And I just remember you just ask. I had no problem asking. And if you got rejected, you're like, okay, be professional.
Do you think you could ask Michael Jordan to do Calm Down as well? Like we could book him next week. That would be amazing.
No, I don't have that pipeline to him anymore. But I would still love to follow up with him. And I would love to talk business with him. His business acumen. And the fact that his mom played this important role. And what would have happened if he, stayed with Adidas, didn't want to go to Nike? And I mean, these small little decisions that somebody makes and you go, that's $1 billion decision right there, if not more, a couple of $1 billion. And all it was we're going there and we're going to talk to these people at Nike. And, you're just, sometimes it takes that. It's just a small thing with a lot of these guys. And they're competitive too. I find this too in interviewing. You got to be competitive with somebody competitive. Don't be afraid to let them know you know what you're talking about and go after them a little bit. Pat Riley famously shut me down one time. Don Shula shut me down one time because they didn't think I knew what I was talking about. And I mean, and they could have been correct, but what I was asking was not, something really serious. It wasn't Goodwill Hunting and I'm solving a problem on a, chalkboard. But I asked Jack Ramsey, I said, give me a question I can ask Pat Riley, NBA Finals. And Jack was just a wonderful, wonderful man. He go, Dan.
Lakers or Miami? Who is he with?
He was with the Knicks.
Oh, sorry, Knicks. Okay.
Yeah, the Knicks. So he goes, Dan, this is what you ask him. And so he's got this elaborate thing. And so I go over there. It's a group interview with Riley. And I asked the question. And he didn't even answer. He looked at me. And he didn't even answer it. And I walked back over and Jack goes, what did he say, Dan? I said, he didn't say anything. He goes, he knew you knew something. And I go, I just think I just embarrassed myself in front of him. He goes, no, you didn't, Dan. You learned from me. Like, Hall of Famer, wonderful man. And he was trying to, I think he knew that Riley knew that Jack gave me the question to ask him. And he wasn't going to give up the answer to the reporters there. That's all right. That's all right.
That's why Rodgers is so hard for me sometimes because and Andrew Luck was really hard. Chris, I know he was just on your Thursday night show because they're smarter than you. I'll never and Rodgers knows what's coming. Luck knew. And I was like, damn it. Stop being so smart. Just listen.
Not gonna trick them.
Yeah,
but I find they'll play, kind of verbal tennis with you a little bit. Yeah. They'll help you do your job. I found Rodgers would be engaging. And when I talked to him after the draft, when they took Jordan Love, and I said, why 4 fingers with your tequila? And he said there wasn't any more tequila. Like he had that amount of tequila only because that's all the tequila that was left at the time. And, so you're asking him about that process. And he allowed me to go into his home when I was asking the question. And that's all you want is if you break through the barrier. Now, what do you do when you get in the house? Are we sitting in the living room, the kitchen? Are we going down to the man cave? Are we going to the bedroom? But I want to know where are we going? Is it going to be a fun, intimate conversation? Is it going to be sort of status quo? Like, I want to be in the kitchen with you.
Yeah.
Living room, nothing good happens in the living room. Now, except for the Christmas tree, and that's it.
Too serious?
Yeah. Like, whenever you go over and you were meeting a girl and you were going to take her to prom, you went in the living room. Like, it was always, and they'd have plastic on the furniture. Like, nothing good happens in the living room. But you get into the kitchen with an athlete or a coach or something, then it's like just sitting around. And it becomes a little bit more of a, let's chat. And that's another thing I always tell my students. Don't interview somebody. Have a conversation with somebody. Because then it doesn't sound like an interrogation. Because if I ask you questions and I'm like, peppering you, you're gonna tense up a little bit. But if we're having a conversation, then I feel like, okay, let me hear your tone. And that kind of dictates, you can have a velvet hammer. That's the way I view it is, hey, it may hurt, but it's not going to hurt as much, or it's going to look better than a hammer coming at you. It'll be a velvet hammer. But ask that question and get that conversation going. Because when you do, that's when they forget they're being interviewed. And it's hard to do that, really hard. But when you do, then you got magic, and that's all you want. You want that soundbite. And I always respected when you had to ask 2 questions. You got your 2 questions on the sidelines. I'd be like, God love you, man. God love you. Because I couldn't do it.
So hard.
I could. What are you going to say to your team second half?
I know.
Coach, what do you need to work on after that? Every goddamn thing is what I need to. And you're like, wait a minute. Contractually, I get to ask you one more question.
You know what? I want to see you interview Mike McDaniel on the sideline at
with
halftime.
your question.
Because that is my dream, is to see Dan Patrick interview Mike McDaniel
I
at
reached
halftime,
out.
and then see
I
him
had
run.
Fritzy reach out to Mike McDaniel 2 weeks ago, and I said, hey, we'd love to have you on the show. And the message we got back was, I'd like to talk to Dan in the off season.
Huh.
That was it.
Because he wants to talk for a long time. He is very.
I love it. I love, when everybody is a cookie cutter and it's like, oh, that's the coach speak. Nobody wants that. I want a guy who is difficult, irascible. I mean, I don't want Belichick or Popovich per se, because that's not good for our jobs. But when you get somebody who wants to kind of push back at you a little bit, give you shit, like Jim Boeheim always wanted to, push back. John Calipari wanted to give me shit. Coach K.
Bo Ryan was like that.
Yeah, but that's what you want, because as I say to my daughter's boyfriends, if I like you, I'm going to give you shit. And if I don't, then, it's time to,
I'm not saying
time to
anything.
pack your bag. Like, you just have fun with somebody that you care about or you want to engage with. And I've been fortunate that you can kind of push back a little bit. I mean, Bob Knight became a friend.
I was going to say,
I love him.
Isn't that the little statue right in front of your microphone?
That is Lou Holtz at Arkansas.
Oh, the red sweater and the white shirt underneath. I thought it was Bob.
Bob Knight, a big doll back there, a big carving or something. People send me stuff all the time. I love it. I love it. I have this man. I don't know what I'm going to do when my career is over, because I have to take all this stuff home. And, my wife loves that, there's no sports stuff at home. It's all here.
When is the end of your
4
career?
more years.
When you want it to be?
Years.
4 more years.
Yep.
Really? Why?
Good, Charissa.
I want to.
Thank you. I'm learning.
That was great. I want to be able to do it at a certain level, hopefully maintain that level, and then you bow out. It's a young person's game. Trying to stay relevant, having the energy, the enthusiasm, having something new to tell people. Those are all challenges, but it's every day where you think about that. There are shows that I went to see One Direction. I would go see Taylor Swift if I could get I want to stay young, at least in my mind, of what is out there. What is somebody doing? What are they saying? What are the shows that people are watching? The athletes, the younger, all of that stuff. And it's doing your homework. And I just want to make sure, I do it in a way that you laugh with me, not at me. And that's my big concern. That's my big fear is, damn, he's still doing that?
No.
You don't, well,
No,
but
no one would say
I know,
that.
but unfortunately, that's the approach I have. I'm still trying to prove myself after all these years, every single day. I know,
if
but
you say that, I'm screwed.
No, but I have no other approach to that.
It's very endearing.
I have no other approach. I can't do it any other way. And it's as I said, going back, you don't enjoy it because you're always going straight ahead. There's nothing wrong with pulling over the side of the road and going, all right, and then getting back in the the HOV lane or whatever. But that's that's the only way I know how to do it. So 4 more years, and then I'll bow out Christmas Eve in 4 more years. That'll be it.
So on that illustrious resume, the occasionally accurate annuals.
We were trying
of football. Why the book?
Every football book is serious, and it's about gladiators, and it's about all this stuff, macho. And Joel Cohen co-wrote the book, and he writes for The Simpsons. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, would you like to be in a Simpsons episode?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "I don't want to play myself." He goes, No, you'll just be a generic announcer. I said, "That's playing myself. And you're going to do some rock skipping. It's a rock skipping competition with Homer Simpson. And you're going to do play-by-play." And I go, "I'm all in." And he goes, "Okay, hey, can you explain to me why Mark Sanchez gets criticized for the butt fumble when Vince Wilfork blew up the tackle that bounced into Mark?" And I go, and so we started talking. And then he said, "I got one other thing." And then he would bring something up. And then all of a sudden, I would say stuff back to it. So we were basically exchanging ideas. And then I think after 20 minutes, he goes, "Do you want to write a book?" And I go, "Sure." Now, I didn't know what he was talking about. I just said, "Sure, write a book? Yeah, I don't know." And then he goes, I'm gonna write all this stuff down. I'm going to come back at you." And then we just would talk on the phone. And then it was all tongue-in-cheek, fun stuff, goofy stuff, some serious stuff, some stuff we made up. And I just thought, you know what? Have a little levity with this. Have a little fun with this. Poke a little fun at it. And he was wonderful to just talk to. And then Andy Richter from Conan, he had a question. He wanted to write. Like all of these people that he knew who don't have a voice were like, "Hey, can I tell why, how I became a Vikings fan? And I used to sleep naked with the windows open to get used to the cold." And then I'd be like, "Sure. Can we talk about Nipplegate?" And I said, "We can talk about whatever you want."
Yes.
I'm going to talk about Nipplegate. And I go, "Sure. We're talking Nipplegate here."
Yes. I'm going to rename this book The Random Shit You Want to Talk About with Dan Patrick.
That might have been a better title than the occasionally accurate annals. I just love having you trying to say annals was.
Okay, wait. We're going to let you go, but we are professionals every now and then on this podcast. So I'm going to redo your intro to give our wonderful editor, Kurt, an in and out on this.
Okay.
But before we do that, E, do you want anything before we let Dan get back to his life?
No, I love you and I hope you're well. And how is your health? Are you good?
I'm going into New York once a month. Get wired up there for a little bit, but a whole lot better than I was because I went down a dark hole there for quite some time. And I never knew depression. Never, like when somebody says, "Oh, I suffer from depression," I'm like, "What? How do you suffer from depression?" Then all of a sudden you get depression and you're going, "Holy shit!" So whenever anybody brings it up now, man, I want to know. I want you to talk because it's. That was and I almost quit the business. I physically couldn't climb the steps to get into the studio. And I'm like, man, I'm in bad shape, but everything's good. Better.
Good.
Got a granddaughter and little Josephine. So life is good.
How old's
She's
Josephine?
going to be 8 months.
Cute.
Oh my God. It's not fair how cute how cute she is.
My dad said if I knew how great being a grandparent was, I would have never been a parent. It's a whole different thing when you're on the other side.
Man, you
of
can
that.
love them and then you just hand them off. Yeah, say.
That's what Carissa
That's how I
does
feel
with
with
my
Mac.
kid.
But look, I'm proud of you two, the women you are. Okay.
You're going to make me cry.
That's not possible. I am proud
Thank
of you,
you.
and we've navigated some waters there. That's certainly. But you know what? I'm glad whatever role I played, I'm very happy to be a sounding board or just a friend. And just a friend is not fair to say. I'm proud to be a friend.
God,
thank
what
you,
is
Dan.
happening?
That means so much coming from you. Yes.
Love you a
We
lot.
love you
I'm
so much.
grateful for you. Calm Down with Erin and Charissa is a production of iHeartRadio.
For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.